Hello, people. It's your boy man back again with another Manchester United preview. This time it's slightly different. We've got a larger panel and we're going to be discussing more general topics surrounding both clubs. So make sure if you've got any comments, put them down below in the live chat. As always, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Today, we've got a few special guests, but also just introduce my co-host first and foremost. We've got Kojo and Kish in the building. How are we doing, boys?
All good, man. All good. I thought
Very well.
got to respect the Everton people, so I'm wearing Under Armour blues.
Where are you in Scotland?
Pardon?
Are you in Scotland?
No, I'm in London.
Kev, it's a straight lie. He had that on beforehand.
No, it's fine.
He looked and he thought, oh, this is
Everton blue, man. Everton blue. You got to respect
You're a Man United fan. You're the only person. You're meant to be on my side.
Didn't you win the European Cup in blue though?
Yeah, we
that's
did.
a good point. Yeah, he did.
2008. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 2008. Yeah.
George Best.
Oh, yeah, I suppose. Yeah, George Best as well. Yeah. Just obviously to have completely lost my train of thought. Just to introduce the Everton side, we are joined by Dave. How are you, Dave?
All good, thank you. Thanks for the invite.
Obviously, yes, absolute pleasure. Thank you, obviously, for sorting it out. Two very special guests. Very, suited to the current situation with what is Man United defending. Two Everton legends, centre-back partnership, Kevin Ratcliffe and Derek Mountfield. How are we doing, guys?
Good. We're on the wrong side of each other.
Okay, fair enough.
What, sorry, mate?
Not been this far apart for a while.
No. Wow, no.
Listen, our defenders will definitely not say that. That's for sure. Honest to God, we'll get into that shortly. But listen, first and foremost, I just want to get the general consensus and feeling of everyone going into the game. Obviously, your thoughts currently on the club and their situation. So, Dave, we'll start with you first and foremost. Obviously, you got your Everton kit. I've got the Man United kit. All the two actually representing United. But Dave, we'll start with you. How are you feeling as an Everton fan? Going into this game, you are the favourites. A lot of people are assuming that you're going to absolutely hammer us as well. But what are your actual thoughts at the moment?
I'm quite happy that we've got Luca Digne back. We've got Seamus Coleman available, and we've got James Rodriguez. Three big players who are playing really well for us. It's a big boost for us to get them players back. Obviously, we're missing Richarlison, who's a key player. But to have them three back, it's a massive boost, and we've now got more of a chance with them than without them.
Yeah, no,
we struggled without Richarlison, we struggled without Digne and Coleman. The squad isn't the biggest, and once you've got them key players missing, it's a massive boost to get them back.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you mentioned Richarlison in particular. And I think for me personally, in your last two games, you've kind of struggled mainly because Dominic Calvert-Lewin's not had that sort of support. You've seen with the chemistry that them two have built up, in the last couple of games in particular, prior to his suspension. They've been absolutely phenomenal. A lot of people have been talking about, obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, rightfully so, but the work that Richarlison's doing in terms of a provider goes unnoticed. Like, Kevin, how big of a miss do you think Richarlison is to this Everton team currently?
Well, he's a goal scorer. You're always going to miss a goal scorer. It's where you get the other goal scorers from when you do miss a goal scorer. And at the moment, we're proving that we haven't. I actually thought the weekend against Newcastle, I thought the manager got it wrong for the first time. I thought tactically he got it wrong. And he played into Newcastle's hands because I don't think they're a great side. But we made them look better than what they were. We were poor. I think the last couple of games we played with nowhere near the intensity that we had been doing at the start of the season. When we got onto that run where we were doing well, we were winning games, top of the league. But I think the intensity from the players now has dropped. I think the way that we played at the weekend highlighted that the squad ain't big enough or good enough in depth. And it'll be interesting. Was that a little message to the rest of the board as to say, look, these players aren't quite up to what I want. I need to be dipping into the transfer market as soon as January comes on. Is it January this year now, or what? Is it all going to change?
No, it'll be January.
So be interesting.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point in terms of where Everton currently are at the moment. It does seem like very similar to where Man United were at the back end of the season. When you have that sort of those injury crisis, so to speak, the drop off is huge. Obviously, Richarlison, if I'm not mistaken, is it Iwobi that's going to be most likely starting, or is there somebody else? Bernard possibly might be starting. What do you reckon, Derek? Who do you think is going to come in for Richarlison to obviously try and have that similar impact?
It's hard to say. I never know what to managers' minds anymore. I watch the game and I see players come in and go, and I wouldn't have played him or put him on. But Richarlison's been a massive miss because Calvert-Lewin, I've always said, well, I said 2 years ago that he'd always work defending but won't score enough goals. But now with Richarlison alongside him, he started playing a lot better because he's got someone with him all the time. And you saw the difference last couple of games when Richarlison hasn't been there. That Calvert-Lewin struggled for support and the ball into him all the time. But tomorrow will be a different game. I don't know who he'll play. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays Iwobi. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays Bernard because I just don't understand now sometimes how the manager sees the game. And as Kevin said, the last 2 games.
Gordon? Do you think he might not play Gordon, Derek?
He might do, yeah. That's an option. Gordon's he's young, he's got pace, he's got a bit of naivety about him, Kev, where you don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to learn and progress under.
To be fair, I don't know what Iwobi's going to do.
Well,
when you
I don't think he knows what he's going to do, Kev. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, he can tie his boots on the right foot anyway. After that,
I don't think he'll play Bernard away from home.
No.
Iwobi, I'm not quite sure about him. I don't know where that price tag's come from. 30+ million for him. And the lad Anthony Gordon, with him not even coming on as a sub at the weekend, I'm thinking, why haven't you, well, I do believe that he has gone knocking on the manager's door, but I'd like to think that a couple of other players have been knocking on the door and saying, look, if I'm not good enough to get in that team, then maybe I should be moving on.
Yeah, no,
we've had such a good start with the first 5 or 6 games that everyone's expectations have gone through the roof again. And the last 2 games have just proved how far away we are from still being what I would class as a top side. We're on the right steps for it, but at the moment, over the last 2 games and very 2 performances at Southampton and Newcastle, both away from home, which has been our downfall the last 2 or 3 seasons. Our away form has been dreadful at times. I think we've got travel sickness still needed to be buying for some of the players, I think. I just think it's proved that we're not quite there yet. We're on the way. And I think after the first 5 games,
that just goes strength in depth, innit? You remember the Man United side from the past who won leagues and cups and everything. Their team was based on the side winning it from the bench. And how many times did that bench come on the field or play? 3, only 3 then. And changing the last 15 minutes. How many times did Manchester United win the game with 15 minutes to go? By not just 1 or 2 goals, but sometimes 3 or 4. But we haven't got that.
Game changed on the bench, Kev, didn't he?
Yeah, I was just about to say, obviously, Kish sports Tottenham Hotspur, as I said. I personally think.
Sorry about that, mate.
I personally think. I don't know why I'm laughing because we're absolutely shocking at the moment. So I personally think it's very similar to when Pochettino first came in. Like after he had that sort of rebuild, the initial rebuild, and I feel like Everton could potentially do that in terms of where they're going with Ancelotti. Kish, where do you think, in terms of what they've said, they're lacking strength and depth, which has been a massive issue with your club in particular, and I feel like you might be able to relate to their current situation in that sense.
Yeah, I think with Everton, the problem is actually from Kevin, Derek, you guys could probably agree to this, is defensively. Defensively, Everton have been poor and suspect for quite a few years now. I think since Jagielka, since he was there, when Everton first bought him and Hibbert was there, they've just not defensively been solid enough, in my opinion. And even this season, you can say that James Rodriguez, not been playing the last 1 or 2 games, and Richarlison, the goals that they conceded against Newcastle, these sort of goals are simple errors. These are goals that no team should really be giving away, and it's the same with the whole of the Premier League. Really, you could say that for most teams. But again, I'd say every single game that Everton have played this season, even against us when they beat us 1-0, there was still opportunity at 2-0 or 1-0.
Yeah,
either way,
2, yeah.
Opportunities were given away. And
It's 3 points, anyway, wasn't it?
yeah. It was 3 points. It was 3 points. But what I'm saying is, without your main creative master in James Rodriguez and bringing in someone like Sigurdsson, you can see that if they're missing an attack, then defensively they are gettable. In terms of linking, having the Pochettino with Tottenham aspect, I think the difference is Everton have a lot of financial backing in terms of, the amount of money that they've given to managers previously, whether it be Silva or whether it be Koeman. That's the difference. So I think in terms of the project, I don't think it would take them as long as it took us at Tottenham, just based on finances. I think it's more about the manager. And I'm sure, most Everton fans could probably agree that they have someone in Ancelotti that with that backing, I do feel if he's given the time, will probably, over time, bring them into that kind of, stage where Spurs were at a couple of years ago, where it's challenging for top 4 and potentially for trophies, going forward.
Yeah, Colin, just to bring you in there, obviously what Kisha said, I personally agree with that. I think, Everton with the backing that they currently got, and I think Ancelotti is one of the best managers in the league, without a doubt. Even you could argue of all time, really. He's probably in the top 10 for most people in terms of conversation. What are your thoughts currently, Kojo, from a Man United perspective? As Kish said, the defense is something we can get at. We will touch on our defense shortly, don't worry, lads, because I'm sure you can definitely get our defense. Yeah, Kojo, what do you think in terms of what we can offer going forward in this game? Do you think there's an opportunity for Man United to, I don't really want to say it, but cause an upset, because that's how bad we are at the moment?
I think I do always worry about Yerry Mina and Michael Keane. This season, I go back to the goal they conceded against West Brom, where Mina was just refusing to engage. I think it was Dengana. And he had enough time to close him down, get at him. And also the Jordan Pickford problem. And it's not that he's a bad goalkeeper, but he's been making a load of critical errors this season, last season as well. You can go back to the game at Anfield where was it Origi scored the winner, and So my personal opinion is, if we're going to win this game, I would encourage our players to just take a load of shots straight at the goalkeeper. I mean, shoot at goal constantly, because there is a mistake in him. There is a mistake in him, and I don't want to disrespect him too much, because I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. I think he's a good goalkeeper, but I feel like right now he feels a bit unsure about himself. Yerry Mina,
we're playing tomorrow against the two keepers tomorrow are suspect then.
Yeah. They are. So I could also encourage you to have shots at our goalkeeper. Trust me, when it gets to our turn, trust me, it's going to be worse than what I'm saying about you guys. But that's the only place I feel we can get at. I mean, if Seamus Coleman is fit, he's a very good right back. Luca Digne is not the best defensively, but you're going to worry about him going forward, because Wan-Bissaka doesn't apply a threat going forward, so they don't have to worry too much about that right-hand side of ours. And that's the good thing about that they've got, is that they've got creativity from defense as well as going forward as well. The fullbacks know how to cross balls in and find their targets. So that's the best I can encourage. But I don't really have faith in our club right now to cause any damage towards Everton. So that's where I am at the game at the moment.
Dave, just to bring you in there, how does it feel like, Manchester United fans saying, we have no, well, I don't want to use the word no hope, because I'm still fairly not optimistic, but there's a bit of hope that we might be able to do something. But how does it feel as an Everton fan? Do you think it says a lot about how far you've come in such a short period, or do you think it's more down to the sort of frailties at the moment with our club?
Sorry, mate, you broke up then. Say again, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I was saying, do you think it's a testament to how far Everton have come in such a short period that Man United fans are sat here worried about what you possess, or do you think it's more down to the frailties that Manchester United currently have?
It's a bit of both, I think. United are very, very low in confidence at the moment. It'll be a good time to play Man United. There won't be a better time to play them. There's massive rumours going at the manager, Ollie, could be his last game. I don't know. Yeah. And I've heard the Tottenham manager, the old Tottenham manager, is going to be approached. I don't know how true that is. But I think with the likes of Ancelotti, with the players he's brought in, I think we've got a chance tomorrow. I really do. I think even without Richarlison, and with United's confidence being rock bottom, I think we've got a chance. I don't think it'll be a massive win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 or a 1-0 for Everton. And that'll sort of stop a bit of rot that set in from the last two games where our midfield was woeful. For the games before that, the midfield has been fine. With Allen, with the core, we've been really good, playing really good football, solid, good passing game and pressing. The last two games just hasn't happened. We need to get that back. We do that. We're all on form tomorrow, and United are not the best. I think we'll get a result. But I think the way United are at the moment, it'd be a good time to play them. My personal opinion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you said. In terms of playing us at the right time, this is probably one of the best times. As you mentioned, it does look like Ollie's literally on the ropes now. You know, there was a lot of speculation after the Arsenal game. Myself as a Man United fan, without being too ignorant, I didn't even contemplate us losing to Istanbul at any point. Like going into that game, I didn't even think about us that being a factor. We were all looking ahead to the Everton game, and obviously that's what happens when you're complacent. But Derek, just to come to you regarding, you know, the frailties currently at Man United, as a defender yourself, a top defender, a title-winning defender, coming to Manchester United, we've got to talk about our defence because it's been a consistent issue this season. In particular, some part of the back end of last season as well, where they've just been shambolic. You know, the game against Istanbul, there's been too many games. The game against Spurs as well, defensively, not good enough. Do you think Lindelof Maguire will ever work in terms of a partnership? Can you see any shades of a good partnership potentially growing there?
If you look at any defence, you know, if you look back to the best teams over the years, the back four very rarely changes. You know, we were playing 3 games a week and we never changed the back four unless there was an injury. The modern day football is different. It's a squad system now, and you've got to understand that players are going to be coming in and coming out all the time. And once you start to get an understanding, and someone else new comes alongside it, it's sometimes very difficult to get the understanding. And I think the back four is probably one of the most important parts of any team. Whether Lindelof and Maguire make a partnership, I don't know. Was Maguire worth the money he paid? Was Michael Keane worth the money Everton paid for him? Everton the same. Once we get that settled back four that we had for the first 4 or 5 games, you can see understanding, partnership developing. And too many managers now are too quick to change the team because players, some reason now, players can't play 2 games a week. They get tired. You know, and I find that hard to understand. That you need to understand, you need to get to know the player alongside you. You know, or the player to the right of you, the player just in front of you, the goalkeeper behind you. And too many managers now change the team too frequently. And that's one of the strengths. I hate to say it, that's been one of the strengths over the last 2 years. They've very rarely changed the back four. And they've got a good understanding now at the back four. And you need to keep the same back four. And Ollie's made a mistake. Ancelotti made a mistake. Koeman, Silva before at Everton. We change our team for what we class as the smaller games. There's no small games in football. You play your strongest, for me, you play your strongest team in every game. And I think the back four is so important. And I saw the goals midweek at United, they were 2 awful goals to concede. And it just shows you that people don't know what the person alongside them is going to be doing with the ball or where they're going to be in relation to themselves on the field of play. And that's common now with so many teams in the Premier League and in football in general. I just hope that tomorrow, if Everton get back to that solid formation again with Luca Dina being back and Seamus Coleman being back, I think Michael Keane's come on tremendously in the last 6 to 8 months under Ancelotti. I'm still not convinced Mina's the perfect centre-half, but I do believe that Mason Holgate might be fit for tomorrow. So it might be Holgate and Keane. But the back four for me is so important. And unfortunately, Solskjaer's made the mistake so often, like a lot of managers, and changing that back four too often for me.
Yeah, no, I think the most important point you made there for me personally is the fact he's tinkering too much with the selection, especially defence. Obviously, yourself and Kevin played alongside each other for a long period and had a lot of success. Kevin, just to bring you in there, how important was it for you to have a steady partnership with Derek in defence? How integral was that for you to have, you know, a steady back four in terms of your performance levels? I think Kevin, you're mute, sorry. Let's see if I can unmute you.
You're on mute, Kev.
Put your mic on, Kev.
I can't unmute him. Right, okay.
Oh, there we go.
There.
There you
Oh,
go.
it's muted
He was. He's muted again. He wasn't on mute.
He's talking. Should we just leave him? Kevin muted. Oh, there we go. Put the mic.
Dave, he can't read. It's not in Welsh.
I don't think he knows how to mute it. Should I kick him and then let me? I don't think he knows how to mute it. Let me kick him. Right, okay. He's still talking. Right, okay, Darren, I'll put the question back to you. I think he's left. Right, yes. Yeah, so as I was saying, how important is it for you as a defender yourself, to have that sort of steady back four? As you mentioned, Ollie's been changing it a lot. Lindelof and Maguire have played quite a lot of games together, so I don't even think that's an excuse for them. Do you think they even complement each other in that way?
Again, it's that situation. For me, it's not just the back four line. It's the people in front of them as well. And when I played, I had Peter Reid and Paul Braceburn constantly in front of me, winning balls. And I'm sure that Michael Keane and Mina have appreciated Alan Decore's work in front of them. I never know what United team is going to play after whenever I go to watch a game or put the television on. I don't know what team he's going to play because I think he thinks he's spoiled with a load of rich players and good players. I think he's a little bit overestimating some of his players' ability because I must be honest, it's probably the weakest United squad I've seen for quite some time. I'm disappointed that they should be higher than they are because they have players that can perform, but the players around them, a bit like Ancelotti this season. Ancelotti came in last year. I think he probably inherited the worst group of players he's had in his managerial career as a squad. Absolutely. I think he's now working hard to wheedle out what he thinks players who aren't good enough, and he's offloaded players already, and he's already made a point of saying to the club and the director, I don't want young players, I want some experience, and that proves that with Corey Allen and Rodriguez coming in. He's actually made his own stamp on the market. I think when he came in, he probably had the worst group of players he's had in his career as a manager, and it's taken him time. It will take him a bit longer before he gets absolutely spot on.
Yeah, no, Kevin, obviously, just to bring you in on top of that, I completely agree with what you said regarding Ancelotti and the squad that he's inherited. He's done a brilliant job. Just coming to Maguire, actually, Kevin, because obviously I know you're captain for a long period of your career at Everton. Cole's just smiling because he's been waiting for this question. As a captain yourself and as a centre back, do you think Maguire does enough in terms of leadership and as well as his defensive duties? Oh, is he gone? We lost him.
No. I think when he first come in,
that's okay.
I thought he was. You lost me again. I've got a bad reception here, mate.
Oh,
keep going.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
Just keep going.
That's crap. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, mate. No, I agree with what you're saying before. You need an understanding with your partner. You definitely need an understanding. And if you think about it, there's no reason why centre-backs can't play all the games, week in, week out, because it's your least fittest position, I think, to be in on the football field. Your full-backs these days are roaming on and everything, so you maybe can alternate them. But if you have a look at the teams that won the Premiership in the past and then the league when we played in, their back fours very rarely changed. So you've got that continuity, you got that understanding, and I just don't think that sometimes when you got that many players available, you don't know what your best team is because you tend not to work on it because you up and change, and hopefully the change that you make is the right change, and it's proving. United, it did with Everton last year. I don't think it's an ideal part. Mina and Keane. I've really sort of got my doubts about, and it will be a boost if Holgate comes back. I must admit, because I think he'd be the number one choice this year, and maybe a future captain of the football club.
Yeah, to be fair, Holgate prior to his injury was absolutely flying, wasn't he? Really. Dave, just to bring you in there in terms of from an Everton perspective, in terms of defence, are you confident?
Oh, that's how he recovers from that now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Dave, are you confident that your defence will be able to nullify what we've got going forward? We've spoken a lot about Allen and Decore and the influence they've had in particular as well. How important do you think that defensive unit is for Everton, and do you think they'll be able to withstand what Man United have got going forward?
Yeah, if United are on the ball on the game tomorrow, Mina and Keane, I've got the work cut out. The defence has been better than last season because of the midfield.
Yeah.
The midfield of Alan Decore. Alan's like a sitting midfielder, protects the back four. Decore does as well. And the full-backs, I've been really joining in. We've been playing a lot better, and that's why I think a good front two would give me and Keane a hard time.
Yeah,
I don't think that the finished article by any stretch of the imagination. Keane has come on leaps and bounds, and there's rumours going around that it's because there's no crowds. I don't know how true that is, but he has improved this season, so that could be it. And obviously, if they don't put in decent performances, I think Carlos will be looking to buy someone in January if the window's open. I do
But he
think
has
we need to
bought
strengthen.
someone. He has bought someone in Godfrey, though, hasn't he? In centre
He
half
has
as well.
Ben Godfrey.
Yeah.
Whether it's too early for Ben Godfrey, I don't know. Whether he's bought him for the long term, I'm not too sure. He had a bit of a dodgy game at Newcastle, I thought. Well, that's early days. He only played a couple of games, so maybe. But there's high expectations of Ben Godfrey. He was watched by a few clubs apparently. Apparently, Man City were interested as well. But Everton come in, and we'll see how he gets on in the future. But it's it's early days, isn't it? I mean, Everton have bought players, seeming to buy players, like Kevin said before, and Derek said, established players now. We're not buying players who were waiting to come good. We're buying players now that are going to hit the ground running because it's been a long time. Everton are a big club. 25 years without a trophy. It's unacceptable. And we need we need silverware. It's gone on too long. We need to buy established players now so we know they hit the ground running and hopefully win something. Not buying these players who might come good a couple of years and they get sold on or they go on loan. No, it's got to change, and I think Carlo Ancelotti knows that.
Thing is, Dave, if I come in there, it's about players we're buying. We've for the last 15 years, we've had to buy the players that will never be any good at the top four club.
Yeah.
We're not careful. United to go in the same situation as us, because I'm not being cruel, but their mantle is slipping slowly but surely.
No, it's true.
And before too long, you'll be buying the same players Everton have been going for 5 or 6, 7, 8 years. And the bigger ones would be going to the Tottenhams, the Man Cities, and even the Arsenals, you want to say that, Liverpool, because both of our clubs now are suddenly in a situation where we're not sure where we are in the football hierarchy. And Everton's mantle slipped over the last 25 years massively. And I do feel that United's mantle is slowly but surely slipping, and teams are overtaking them. And before too long, you've got to be careful before you start looking at the same sort of area that Everton has to look at football for new signings. The big ones won't come to United because they won't be in the Champions League. And for some reason, now lose everything. And I think United have to be very careful over the next 4, 5, 6 years that they don't do what Everton did over the last 25, 30 years and totally lose their mantle of being a top 5 club. And I think that's a situation United fans haven't really looked at yet. They still think they are a big team because you are.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But before too long, you could be shopping in that, what I call it, the second tier market for footballers. Liverpool have to do for the last 5 or 6 years.
Let's make no mistake. There's no way James Rodriguez would be at Everton Football Club if it wasn't for Carlo Ancelotti.
100%.
Yeah.
And
true.
I think he is the only attraction to get these big players. Everton, in the northwest where Everton is, it's a nice area, but it's not a glamorous club. And for Carlo Ancelotti to get in our club and to attract players, hopefully there'll be a brighter future for us. But getting back to yourself, lads.
Yeah.
Pochettino, if it comes to the position where Ollie had to resign or he was sacked, would you accept Pochettino as your manager?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go through with that hesitation. I actually wanted Ancelotti, ironically, given the fact we've got 2 Evertonians. Ancelotti was my preferred choice. Obviously, we're not going to get him now, but I would take Pochettino. I think just to add on to what you said, Derek, for me personally, as a Man United fan, I generally think we're in the sort of category of being AC Milan, 2.0 basically, because AC Milan, me growing up, as a kid watching football, AC Milan were the biggest team really. They won the Champions League consecutively. They had all the best players in the world really, Kaká, the Ronaldinhos, etc. And we are definitely falling in that category at the moment. You see us slowly slipping further and further away from where we should be. We've barely mounted any form of a title challenge really since Sir Alex Ferguson's left, and it's been 8 years now. So there is a worry within the United fan base. And just to answer your question, that is why we do actually want to change. I know you said right at the start of the show, there's a lot of speculation surrounding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his job. For me personally, I would sack him regardless of the result. Like, obviously, I want us to win the game, but I just think this is the perfect opportunity for us to get a new manager, potentially salvage the season. You look at all the teams around us, there's Everton, there's Tottenham Hotspur, even Wolves, no one's mentioned them. Leicester look brilliant. And that's just the 4 teams that not notoriously known for being the top 4. And then you've got the top 4 itself with Arsenal, obviously Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City. That's 8 teams at the moment that look generally better than us. So we, on merit even, we're 9th. And even saying that, we don't even deserve to be 9th currently. So it's far from where we need to be. So Kojo, I'll pass that to you. As a Manchester United fan going to this game, there's a lot riding on it from our perspective. Ollie's job's on the line, really. Yeah. Do you think this could be his final curtain call, and do you think it should be also?
Regardless of the we win or not, like I said in the show we did, I think yesterday or the day before, it should be. The thing is, I will give you a credit for winning the game, but it's the inconsistencies. You've gone from beating PSG, you've gone from beating Leipzig, a good win away at Newcastle, to dropping points at home to Arsenal, to going to Istanbul and producing probably one of the worst Man United European performances in years.
Yeah,
it's these inconsistencies that have made his tenure at the club, for me, unacceptable. You go back to the first season, you had over half the season, almost got top 4, lost to Cardiff, lost to Huddersfield, 2 clubs that were either relegated or struggling for relegation. Last year, obviously we had COVID and everything, but you were 14 points behind Leicester and Chelsea. And if they didn't drop points, we wouldn't be there. Granted, they got the wins, but they had part to play in their own sort of downfall as well. That's why we got 3rd. And the start to this season as well has been unacceptable. So for me, he just has to go. Everyone here has said it. We need consistency, and that's from the lineup to the results. And the lineup has never been consistent, ever, with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And to be honest, that's a theme at United in general, because we've had 4 different managers since Ole Gunnar since Sir Alex Ferguson, different lineups, different players, different philosophies. Never been the same. And we haven't had a settled team for a long time. And when we were the most successful, Vidic and Rio were together in that midfield for a long time. Carrick and Scholes or Anderson were together in that midfield for a long time. Ronaldo, Rooney, Tevez had 3 years together as a front 3. That's the kind of thing you want to build. That's the consistency you want to build. And Pochettino has history doing that. Southampton got a settled team, results. Tottenham, we finished 3rd and 2nd, settled team, results. I want that same consistency at Old Trafford. So, yeah, regardless of whether he wins or not, for me, it's been time to go since even the 6-1. So, yeah, I'm done with it.
You, Kojo, for me, you say, is it inconsistency or is it complacency? I think when you go to Paris Saint-Germain, you play a top side. When you go into Turkey against whoever it was, we're going to win this easy. I think the management, the players realise what to do. And the other thing is about Pochettino. What do you want? You say you want to win a manager. What do you actually want in the game?
That's my view on it. Yeah, that's my view on it.
That's a question that's always asked to me, and the thing is, no, it's a fair point.
How to win until they've won. The hardest one to win is the first one. Ask Howard Kendall when he was alive. That's the hard. Ask Alex Ferguson in 1990 when he won the FA Cup. When he's on the brink of the sack, and then Lee Martin gets him out of the mess at the extra time penalty. The first one's the hardest one to win. Yeah. And you've seen that Liverpool last couple of seasons. Once they've won one, they become a winning team. And all Everton needs to do is win the first trophy, and United need to win again to get them back into that frame of mind. I think United, it's not inconsistency, it's more complacency. They think they're better than they are. And that's the manager's job.
That's exactly what it is. Man United are not the same great club that they were.
Everton aren't inconsistent. We're not complacent. We're just not quite there yet. We have the occasional inconsistent performances and the occasional but we're on the verge of climbing that, start to climb again. But I think United think that, and some of the players, I'm talking some of the top players in that club, think they're better than they actually are. And they're the ones that need to show what they can do for that team. It's okay being with £8 million. You perform week in, week out, regardless of what your players do. And I think that's United's biggest problem. It's complacent. They think they're better than they are.
Yeah,
Sir Alex Ferguson must have been a hell of a person to replace. How do you replace Sir Alex Ferguson?
The problem is, one of my issues with that is if I was the next manager, Alex Ferguson is still around Old Trafford every week. Go back to Liverpool when Bill Shankly resigned in '74, and he was still going to the training ground in '75, and all going, "Hi, boss. How are you, boss?" They pulled him and said, "Look, you can't come in here. You're not the boss anymore. Go away."
That's right. Yeah.
And Shankly then spent more time at Goodison Park and Everton's training ground than Liverpool after that one. The manager, once you've gone, you have to sever your links. You've got to let next manager do what he wants to do. I just think people over the shoulder, Sir Alex over my shoulder, he's watching me all the time. He's questioning what I'm doing. And I just think, I'm not, I've been in Sir Alex's company before. He's a wonderful person, great manager, great person. But I just think he needs to step away and not have the influence on the club that he has at the moment. So I just think the managers are looking over the shoulder because Sir Alex is still there.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid point. Obviously, you know, it's not only intimidating, but like when you mentioned, how do you live up to his expectations? You know, he was a serial winner, especially at their club, basically, in terms of what he's achieved. It's unmatched. It's not even close to anyone else. As well, Arsene Wenger, in terms of his longevity, is the only one really close to Sir Alex Ferguson. But just bringing it back to Pochettino, Kish, I want you to get your thoughts on the matter. I know you've got an opinion on this as a Tottenham Hotspur fan who's seen the fruits of Pochettino. Do you think he can potentially bring that to Manchester United and change not only the football but the culture of the club and bring it closer to what you'd expect?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that you'll definitely get from Pochettino is passion. You know, he only wants the best for the clubs that he manages. You could see at Tottenham his plan after losing the Champions League final was, we've got the stadium, fantastic. We've got a Ferrari type of stadium, but we don't have the Ferrari team to match the stadium. If you've got a beautiful house, but you don't have the furniture to match it, it's no longer a beautiful house. He said that to Gary Lineker in an interview the season after we lost in the final. So he just wasn't given the funds and he wasn't given the push from the board towards, you know, getting us to the next level. And I feel like at United, he will have that backing. But again, with Pochettino, I feel like it's similar to Ollie, where Ollie has brought in, you know, younger players like the likes of Greenwood that are now sort of the next stage. And I feel like Pochettino is another person who's like the gateway. He is literally like the gatekeeper towards the next level. I feel like Pochettino will get you to a stage where you are now competing and challenging. But then after him, I do feel like you'll need a further steps of someone like an Ancelotti or someone like an Allegri, someone like a Luis Enrique that can take you to that next stage as well. I feel like he's part of the process where you could have him for maybe 2-3 seasons, but then there will become a stage where I just feel like in terms of elite level, I think he just slips below that. He's a top quality manager. Don't get me wrong, he did fantastic for us. But in terms of elite level, someone who can win you trophies, is he someone that can get to that stage? I just feel that with all the ability he has and the credentials, he's just lacking that top tier level, which, you know, your Peps, your Klopps, your Ancelottis, even your Mourinho's maybe will get you to that next stage where they can generate that sort of trophy level success, in my opinion.
Good point, Kish. Good point there. What we'll say is Everton can afford to give Ancelotti 2 or 3 years. Can United afford to give Pochettino 2?
That is the question. Well, they've given Ollie about 2
They're going to have to.
United need to do that.
So I suppose they can. Yeah.
You want to say, for example, say if you sack him, bring in Pochettino for 2-3 years, and then go to an Allegri or whatever.
I think.
Do you want to go straight back up to where you were?
That is true.
Yeah, a lot of United fans are a little bit disheartened with Ollie's passion on the line. He doesn't seem to have that drive, you know, that passion.
We definitely decided by that. It's just frustrating. He's a club legend, right? It's like when you had Duncan Ferguson for that short period before Ancelotti came in. And, you know, I'm sure as an Everton fan yourself, you'd say, okay, granted, he might not, you know, being tactically astute, so to speak, but you knew it meant every single thing to him to be there. And Ollie, I'm like, as a football fan myself, and obviously my United fan, I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for what he's done for the club, but it just baffles me to see that.
But see, Usman, if I can interrupt on that, that was the difference between Everton and United. When Duncan Ferguson came in for a limited time, Everton won 3-4 games on the trot, and there was that kind of hint where, are they going to give him the job? But they didn't, and they got Ancelotti. Whereas with United, they got carried away with the fact that some early results, and they gave him the contract. Whereas Everton didn't. Everton still went in for someone like Ancelotti, which is something to be admired. I wonder now, looking back, if the board are thinking when someone like an Ancelotti was available at that point in time, really, if they should have, gone for that and said to Ollie, because then Ollie's legacy would have still been intact, in my opinion, and good results. They probably would have got him a better job as well, knowing that he's done fairly well at United.
He did really well.
And it would have helped, but I think this has gone on way too long at United now, where it's got to a stage where, I know me and you spoke about this on the chat today, but I do feel as a hint that a lot of fans are kind of forgetting the quality of a player that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was due to his managerial record, and that's really pretty sad, in my opinion. If I was a fan and it was at that stage, I wouldn't want someone like, say, Ledley King, his legacy to be tarnished at Tottenham due to what happened as a manager.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Simeone would be a great manager for Man United.
Yeah, Simeone I'm a huge fan of Simeone, but I personally don't think
Kojo's not in that.
Yeah, I don't think
I do. I just think he's got that passion. I think you bring into the club. I think he'd rejuvenate you. I really do. I think he'd be a good fit for you.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm a huge fan of his, but I just don't know about the football. Obviously, United was built on attacking football, and Simeone is basically anti-football to an extent. But he did beat Liverpool, so in my eyes, I love him even more in the Champions League last season. But just to bring it back to the game, obviously, just to finish off with a couple of questions, the lineup, and obviously the score predictions. Dave, in terms of what Man United have got going forward tomorrow, I personally think it's going to be Marcus Rashford and Martial starting. Of course, Rashford bagged a hat-trick not so long ago, so I'd assume he's still in decent sort of vein of form and confidence. What threats do you think Manchester United got, Dave, in this game going forward against your team?
Rashford and Martial, big threat, massive threat. If they're on the game, they'd be too much for our centre-halves. 100%. We have got to be on our game tomorrow. If them two are on fire, we're in trouble. But the thing is, they have got to get the service. If we can nullify that service to them, that's where we'll win the game. It's the midfield tomorrow. Yeah, the midfield tomorrow is essential into winning that game, I think, because they don't get the service.
That's where we need to be doing tomorrow day. You're right about the two up front. Martial had a habit to score against Everton.
Exactly, that's what I said.
Brilliant. Not only off the field, but on the field. He's been an outstanding person recently, but our midfield is totally different to what we've had for the last 2 or 3 years. And I think if the midfield do their work properly, the back four get a lot more protection. And that's what our back four needs a bit. Like every back four needs protection. And we've got that better now with the three we've got in there. I just hope that tomorrow, I never know what team is going to be picked, but Everton's back four will be pretty much, I think it'll be Coleman, Mina, Coleman, Keane, it could be Holgate, it could be Mina, and it'd be Dean. And it's those three in front are so important. If they can stop that service to the front men, we've got a chance. But you give United front men the opportunity. You've seen it. You've seen the game. Given the opportunity, they can be clinical. But saying that, their United's back four, like it was during the midweek game, it was all over the place.
So Ropey's an understatement.
He now knows where the goal is. We've got an opportunity to get goals against you as well. So for me, I personally can't call the game. I'm currently in Spain. I'm going up to the bar tomorrow, and it'll be with United fans, and I can't wait to give them some stick wherever we win.
Oh God, I'm gonna message you, Derek, if we win now, because obviously I'll be giving you stuff. Obviously, leave it being Kojo on, because we've been through enough this week as it is. Kojo, just to bring you in. Obviously, I've got to be honest, lads. Right. I personally think that the game is going to be a lot different to what people are saying. I've heard a lot of people saying that, Man United are going to get hammered, etc. But one thing you need to remember is that we are very, very good against teams that attack us. Like, in terms of our ability to find space and hurt teams on the break, I think we're generally one of the best in the league. even currently as we are at the moment, in terms of Rashford, Martial up front, potentially Bruno in the pocket or Van de Beek or Pogba, who may be. I think Everton need to be careful, Kojo. If they're overconfident or if they're over expansive, we can definitely hurt them on the break. What do you think?
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. That's something that we've done for a while now. We've been obviously really good on the counter attack. A lot of our biggest wins in the last year, City being one of them, was counter attacking football, and it works perfectly for us. So it would make sense for us to set up like that. I think that's how we will probably set up anyway. I'm just also worried about, how good Everton are in terms of how creative their players are. You got the two fullbacks we've spoken about. Midfield, you got James Rodriguez. Bernard's quite creative and he comes on as well. Good dribbler. Iwobi is.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin's got plenty of confidence, hasn't he?
And he's exactly why I'm worried, because if he gets good service, any striker worth the salt would always target the weaker defender, and that is Lindelof, and he's very weak in the air.
Yeah,
and
Calvert-Lewin's leap. Was it against Liverpool that he scored that header? Outrageous leap, outrageous.
Yeah, so
we're quite good at set pieces this season as well. I think we've scored. I think we're up in the top 2 of the most goals scored.
Well, we can't defend set pieces, so it's
you'd like to Michael Keane, Mina, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and we got the free kick threat as well from James Rodriguez and so
Digne as well has got a really good free kick on him as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
We have got tools to hurt United. It's just that if, as Derek was saying before, the midfield is an essential part of that game tomorrow. For us.
Yeah,
we've got to stop your service, and we've got to supply our lads up front.
Yeah,
if we can do that, we'll do it.
Let's go through the lineups then, because obviously the midfield battle in every single game that you play is the most important part of the pitch. It's gonna be interesting to see what obviously Kojo says for his lineup. But Derek, we'll start with you first and foremost. Obviously go through your full 11, and then obviously we'll come to you, Dave, and then myself and Kojo will give us, and then Keishan, you can be the adjudicator and decide who's winning the game.
Okay, I'll go with Southall in goal. Stevens right back.
Marfield, Ratcliffe.
Any chance, Derek, you can play centre back for us tomorrow? By the way, just get.
I'm not as quick as I used to be, and I wasn't quick then.
Maguire's not quick either, so I'm sure you'll be fine.
I think Everton's back four will probably pick itself. He will. Yeah. He's still he's going to play Pickford in goal. He just got to realise he's a goalkeeper, and he's got to stop getting wound up too much. He gets a bit involved in things too much. I hope Seamus Coleman's back at right back. He's been outstanding for the last 4 or 5, 6 years. I think Michael Keane will play. I'm not sure whether it'll be Holgate or Mina. It'll be one or the other. I think.
Is Holgate fit enough to play this game?
He's fit. He's been training all week.
It'll probably be Mina. I don't think he'd risk him first game back. I doubt he'd risk him.
I don't know how he's work anymore. Luca Dean should be back at left back, hopefully. Midfield 3 of Allen, Doucouré, and Gomez, who was very poor last week at Newcastle.
Yeah,
he needs to up his game massively. Cavaloon up front. Rodriguez is fit. James, he keeps calling him James, but I think people call him James, but I call him James as well. And the other players, I'm not sure now who's going to replace Richarlison. As Kevin said before, Anthony Gordon showed massive potential in the games he's played. I don't think Bernard will play because he's a bit too small and lightweight for that situation. Iwobi's had an up and down Everton career so far. 1 minute he looks. One minute he looks good, with 89 he looks awful. But I just think I think it might. I hope he plays Anthony Gordon, gives him a chance. The lad's got great potential. He's actually banged on the manager's door this season and said, "Why aren't I playing at it?" And that shows a kid a lot of confidence. Everton's team won't change that much, I don't think, from recent weeks, because having James back, having Dean back, and hopefully Coleman back, I think it'll pretty much pick itself.
He doesn't seem to play Gomez and Sigurdsson together, does he, Derek?
I don't think.
I think it's the legs. I think it's the legs, isn't it? I don't mean they're not the quicker players.
Sigurdsson, for me, flatters to deceive too much. He doesn't do enough during the game for me to warrant a place in the team. I think Gomez has the freedom that Doucouré and Allen give him. He's far more creative than Sigurdsson is. So I think he'll play Gomez rather than Sigurdsson. He might well put Sigurdsson instead of Gordon. But I just think Gordon might be the right one to go and play alongside Calvert-Lewin, because Calvert-Lewin's thrived on having someone closer to him, which Richarlison has done this season. Last year he was on his own far too often. He's heading the ball and he's chasing the flick on, he's running down the channel. But this season, having Richarlison higher up with him, it's proved that he can play and score goals against the best teams, and he's looked outstanding this season, Calvert-Lewin. And I just hope that he doesn't leave him isolated as he has done in recent games.
Sigurdsson doesn't seem like he wants to be there.
I don't
you know, whenever you see him, you see Sigurdsson's attitude, and he doesn't seem right to me whenever he plays.
Well, we say that as fans. It's nice that someone else sees it as well.
He looks very obviously,
we paid big money for Sigurdsson as well.
Yeah, a lot of money.
45 million.
50 million. Yeah.
If you look at Sigurdsson, Iwobi and people like that, they're the last minute signings on deadline day when we were chasing the signature, and the price goes from 25 to 45 if you're coming really late for them. You should do your work early on. We could have got Sigurdsson for probably 15 million less than you paid for him. When we signed him.
I was listening to Roy Keane, and he was saying about the last few years of United players, United team. There's no leaders.
Yeah, that's
there was no one who can get the who can get the game by the scruff of the neck.
Yeah.
No one who could drag the players through. And he said that's what they're missing. I don't know if that's
absolutely. It's not just United, Dave.
Yeah,
so many
Everton as well, mate.
Everton's one of them, to be honest. You can't make a player into a leader. A Roy Keane comes around and he wants the best of himself.
It's a generational type of player, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Too many players now are happy to take the money and just there's no. I personally believe there's not the desire to win games like there used to be. Losing doesn't hurt people anymore. It used to hurt us massively.
I think the value of a captain has reduced massively. I think given the captaincy now, it's like a novelty rather than an actual like you've earned it sort of thing ananymore. You know, no one earns it anymore. Yeah, well, there you go.
It's not privilege anymore, is it?
No, it's not, and it's a shame really, because that's a part of modern day football which is kind of ruined in that way, where a youngster can get the captaincy for a game or two, and it's like, surely you need to put in your stripes to get something of. I mean, how can someone like Maguire get the captaincy when he's been there for a season or season and a half and not really shown his worth?
That goes back to what Derek says, and obviously James just said there, we don't have any other options because they stripped up the hair for off pitch incidents. Obviously Maguire's had his own that we don't want to talk about. And Pogba's had his issues, and then we haven't got any leaders in the team that can actually be that captain. And I don't think Maguire should be the captain, but he's literally choosing from nobody. Like this, I don't know what Kojo thinks, but I can't.
If Maguire loses round, they're going to get to Rashford next. And
I wouldn't mind if he's Rashford. I think the players will respect him now, and although he's very young, I don't think he's a leader at all. But honestly, it's
but then this is what I was saying to you about Pogba. Pogba's the captain of France. All the players clearly love him. Every single player apparently says it. So is he not? But I'm just saying he is that vocal, strong mentality player for France. So why is it the fact that when it comes to United, even though apparently all the players love him and they listen to him, why isn't he captain quality? I don't seem to understand that. I don't get it.
He said he didn't want it after I think he was stripped. Was he stripped of the captain or the vice captain?
He was stripped due to what his agent said rather than what he said.
Yeah, so, but he didn't want it after that. After that, there's no interest to take the armband. So that's fine.
You know that when the players are happy, the agent leaks the story. So we probably told the agent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I suppose so.
Yeah, he's going to get 50%, isn't he?
There's like Mark Higgins as captain, club captain, magnificent footballer, massive. Unfortunately, came to United after he finished at Everton with a massive growing issue, and Harry looked around the room and didn't know who to choose as captain. And I think Kevin was an outstanding choice. He led us. He took over match day duties, tickets, etc.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays, as you said before, Kish, the captain's role is just you have the armband.
Pointless. It's pointless.
The captain should be the link between the players' issues and the managers.
That's what Roy Keane was. He was Ferguson on the pitch.
The captain's role is gone now. You just go and shake hands at the football. You punch fish now, don't you? And there's no leaders. No one shouts and screams, grabs you by the testicles or the shirt, which you're good or better than me. And you don't see it now. And that's where football's gone now. Football's lost the leaders now. It's lost those, not the hard men, but the people that want to play and want to win every single game we play. And Kevin was like that, Peter Reeve, like Andy Gray. And you look at United team, you've had the Roy Keanes, you've had the Beckhams, the
Brian
Robson, Captain Marvel.
Gary Neville. Gary Neville wouldn't even shake Schmeichel's hand when he left to go to Man City. He wouldn't even shake his hand.
Bro, he wouldn't even shake his brother's hand.
Exactly. That just shows you. That just shows you.
I love that.
Yeah. Good old Gary.
It's right. I mean, they're all into the stats apparently. You know, these players, it's all about themselves. When you come off, look at me stats. I didn't follow. They're not. A lot of them are not for the team. A lot of them are riding it for themselves.
Yeah,
and
they're waiting for that pay rise or that big money move. That's what they're waiting for.
They're just money driven. They can go through their career. I mean, they're 21, 22 years of age. As soon as they put pen to paper, they're millionaires.
Yeah.
What's their drive? That's why I admire the likes of Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah,
they are multi millionaires, but you've got that drive to win things, to be the best, and that's rare. You don't see that here. You don't see that.
No, you don't. But again, they're still part of that older generation. It's the same with Ibrahimovic at 39. You know, he could have stayed in America. Enjoyed his life, but he went back to Milan, and they're now title challengers in the Italian league. Yeah. You know, he's and it's players of that generation, which nowadays you have one or two good seasons as a youth player, you get the 80 to 100 grand a week contract, and then it's game over.
Like, literally got 180,000 or something ridiculous like that for like a couple of good games, like just straight away. But Cody, let's come back to Man United's perspective. Obviously, you've heard what Derek has said regarding Everton's lineup. It'd be interesting to see what formation you're playing, because I've gone 3 at the back because we can't defend to save our lives. So that's the only way we're going to be able to deal with Calvert-Lewin the way I see it. But what are your thoughts going to the game? I believe Tellez is just come back to training, so he's not available, but everybody else really is. Phil Jones is not available, sadly, also.
Good joke, bro. But I feel like these 2 losses will make Ole go back to his 4-2-3-1. That's what I feel like he's going to go for. I think the back line, again, speaks for itself. I think Shaw will still start just because Tellez has just come back. Lindelof, Maguire, of course, and then obviously Wan-Bissaka. I think he will start McTominay and Fred again together. Yeah. And Bruno as a number 10. We've spoken about this. I feel like Bruno has not been in good form for the last 4 months, but he's for some reason undroppable. And I know we always talk about back in the day, there was a player, if maybe they'll be out of the game for 50, 60 minutes, but then they can produce that moment of magic. But he's not producing moments of magic. He's scoring penalties. And as soon as you get on the score sheet, that's the main thing, but he's not actively affecting the game in the most positive way. But he'll start. Rashford on the left, Martial's back, so Martial will start. And I feel like for some reason on the right wing, we're going to see Daniel James in this game. Just because I feel like he's going to feel Dini's going to come forward.
He's just laughing now.
Bro, just because... It's because Digne goes forward so much, and rightfully so, because he's got such a good wand of a left foot. I feel like he's going to ask Daniel James to maybe just get him.
He's like what Walcott was for Everton.
Exactly.
Just a pace
exactly. But personally, I think if he's going to start someone on the right, it has to be Greenwood or Mata. That's how I always feel about that. But
not Mata, please, for the love of
God. Bro,
Mata, against Digne.
I know. With that pace.
I know you don't want to see Mata there, but I rate every now and then. I will say time and time again, his intelligence, his reading of the game, and he's also quite defensively good. For what you want, Ole, what Ole wants from his players.
No.
Yes, Kish. Yes.
No, Matt is only good against teams where it's like the lower end where you've got the possession. Against teams like Everton, he would be finished.
Dave's if Matt is playing, you might give us 3 points.
Dave's licking his lips. Dave is licking his lips over Matt.
I think I'll put my boots on if Massa plays.
Kish, what you need to understand is no matter the lineup, right? The team is just not good enough, and we still haven't got a certified right winger. That's a fact. So regardless,
that's what I've gone to up top.
Regardless, whether Mata starts there, whether Greenwood starts there, whether it's Daniel James, what's going to happen is it's going to be ball to feet. We're not going to use Daniel James' speed to run in behind. It's going to be ball to feet. We're not going to use Mata to stay on the wing. It's going to be ball to feet and then cut in. Yeah. And if it's Greenwood, it's going to be ball to feet, step over, try and shoot. Nothing changes in regards to that. There's no.
You need that front three though. You need Greenwood. Is
I would prefer him.
Can he play?
Rashford, yeah.
I
would prefer him.
You have to.
I would prefer him, but I just don't feel like he's going to go that way. But if he does, good. But you know, I just don't trust. I don't trust Ole. I see he hasn't had a certified out for a long time.
That's just what it is. Right. Before I have my say, because I've gone for a completely different team to you, including Dave. I just want to hear your reaction to that lineup from your perspective as an Everton fan.
Yeah, you've still got a great side. Don't get me wrong.
Tell you what, Dave, if Daniel plays, he's playing right back tomorrow. Luke Dean pushes you back that
far. I think if you're on your boat, on your game, it'll give us a proper game tomorrow, and you could get a win. It's that close. And I think it's one of them games where none of us can afford to lose a game. We've got to stop the rot, and you've got to save Solskjaer's job if you want to. I think that's how important the game is. It's none of us can lose it, to be honest, because they'll stop questioning. A lot of people start questioning the team. Everton's bubbles burst. If United lose, United are on it's one of them. And if it's a draw, it's a draw. It's one of them. It's a tough one.
We're in the relegation battle. We can't afford a draw. So
Tony Pulis incoming.
Someone knocking on wood.
Big Sam's waiting.
Big Sam till the end of the season.
Big Sam's at Carrington as we speak.
He'll get Rooney from Derby on loan.
To be fair, if Mad's starting, then I don't see why Rooney can't get a game. But
exactly. Can I just say something? What about one of your players, Andrei Kanchelskis?
Listen.
Well, I brought him actually from Russia to Goodison to do a bit of a tour, a couple of gentlemen's evenings, a bit of media work. And Derek Mountfield told a cracking story when we had Derek on with Andre. Derek, can you just tell the lads what happened?
It goes back a long way to my Villa days in 1991. I played 2 games for Big Ron when he came to manage Villa. And my last game was at home to Man United on a Wednesday night. And I played centre half, but I told Andre I played right back because I wore the number 2 shirt, but don't tell Andre this one. And we lost 1-0. I never played again for Villa and then never played in the top flight after that. So I get us to do a Q&A, and the first question is, Derek, what do you think of Andre? And I just went, I hate him. And he was, what do you mean? And I went through the story. He went, I'm so sorry. Andre, don't worry about it. It's just part of the story it was. But my last game in the top 5 was against Andre at Villa Park for United. And I think Paul McGrath played right back that day, and I played centre back. And we lost. I never played again in the top flight. So I told Andre he's the reason I'm not in the top flight anymore.
Oh my God, that's actually quality. That's quality. Oh God, I love that. Just funny throw me off there. Just to come back to the Dan James and Mata, I don't even know if Dan James is on my bench. So I went to, obviously you guys can have your comments on my system as well. I've gone 3-5-2. I just think defensively we're in absolute shambles at the moment. So I've gone obviously to here and there. I've gone Wan-Bissaka actually right centre back. I've gone for. I personally would want Lindelof and Maguire I would want Maguire on the bench, but I know that's not going to happen. So I've got Maguire as the sweeper centre back. Left centre back on Twansebi. Left wing back, obviously Luke Shaw because Telles is available. Midfield, I've gone Fred. I've gone for Pogba, and I've gone for Van der Beek. Bruno, for me personally, has not done enough to get a game. I think Van der Beek, Fred, and Pogba were absolutely phenomenal against RB Leipzig, and it's getting massively overlooked for some reason. That midfield 3 literally bossed the game, beat the press. And Pogba's got the ability to get the ball from deep and play that ball that will allow us to counter-attack you, which is what we're going to need in this game. And, of course, Rashford and Martial up top. Derek, what are your thoughts? Obviously, we've gone for two slightly different teams there. Obviously, basing on both our team selections, how do you think you'd fare in the game?
Well, as Kevin said, I don't watch United. I don't look at United very often myself. I just think if Ollie's got any guts tomorrow, he's a bit brave, and if you're not performing for him, he leaves that player out and brings someone else who wants to play for him. Does he ever play three at the back? I wonder. Will he chance going three at the back?
Yeah, he has.
He does once in a while.
If he does that might upset Everton because Ancelotti will be expecting a 4-4 or a 4-2-3, however he plays. So maybe the three at the back might surprise Everton. But to be honest, I don't know half the players in the United team anymore. I saw the young lad play centre half midweek, and he looked a little bit out of his depth. Although we're talking United fan who says he's got great potential, he's big and he's strong, but he looked a little bit. And that's where this squad formation doesn't help, or squad rotation, where he's in for a game, he's out for 5, he's in for 1. You can't perform after one game. So I really don't know what team Ollie will play, but all I look for when I pick up the cheat sheet is what's Everton's team? How are we going to play? And I look at Everton's team, and I want to see the team. I've got an idea of how we're going to play. And we don't change our situation, our formation, particularly often now, like we used to quite often under previous managers. And I just think if Everton are at the game and on the ball, like we showed for the first 5 or 6 games of the season, we're a match for every team in that league at the moment, where we haven't been for many years. United's team will depend what we do. And as I always say, the home team, you should never change their team to or negate the visiting team.
100%.
My big issue now with football is how much is the lack of fans playing a part in performances, results, because some players don't like playing in front of the home fans, or they're playing better now there's no fans in the ground. Some players need the crowd with them, singing and shouting to get their momentum, themselves up for a game. And I just think this season could be the strangest season we've seen in football ever, because with no fans being home and away, it's so different now, the atmosphere-wise, and certain people need the fans around them, and certain players will be certainly glad that they're not in the ground at the moment. But I think this season is totally strange. I don't think United would have lost home to Arsenal to be £75,000 in the ground. I don't think Everton would have been as disappointing at times in a derby match if they'd been full of their trophies.
I was about to say, can you imagine Everton against Liverpool, that game that you had against them with Goodison Parks?
Yeah, I think the fans this season, both home and away, it will be a totally different season, you know, and certain players will love it this year because they'll not get sick of the tennis.
And that's why, and that's why, Derek, the two teams that have struggled so far this season, Burnley and Sheffield United, rely massively upon their 12th man in the fans, and it's no, you know, it's obvious to see the position and why they're there, because they are clearly missing, you know, their 12th man.
And I don't think people take enough of that into consideration this season. I think that will play a massive effect this year.
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Kids, just to come to you, just obviously summarise the whole sort of the game in 60 seconds or so, and then let's get everyone's score predictions up. Wrap it up.
I think with the formations that you mentioned, I think your formation, Usman, is definitely, you have to play in a back three, in my opinion. You need the 3 centre halves to protect the forward line. Maguire can only play in a back three defence, in my opinion, so it kind of suits him to a T. But again, I think I hope I'm not wrong. I hope I'm right, but I think it's actually going to be a really good attacking game, because Ollie knows that he can't just win 1-0. It has to be an impressive performance, in my opinion, for him to stand any chance of keeping his job, I reckon. And I think, again, for the Everton side of things, when you've got the likes of James Rodriguez back in the team, he's not going to have the intent to, you know, sit back. And I think Ancelotti will want to show that, you know, we're not just a flash in the pan. We're here for the whole season, and you know, we want to come with an impressive performance. So I do think it's going to be a very good attacking team. None of the teams can defend. It's very, very clear, and both teams on their day can literally turn any side over, in my opinion, in that league. So it all makes for a very, very interesting and attacking game of football, I think.
Yeah, what's your score prediction on the
I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Oh, okay, fine. Desmond.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Dave, I believe you gave your score at the start, but obviously in case you've changed it, I can't see that.
Everton 1.
Dominic,
Okay, 1-0 United.
Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Okay, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. Kojo, score prediction?
2-1 Everton.
Oh no, man!
Oh!
His prediction is to lose ever on our
Dear
podcast,
me.
so it's a first. You know, we've been
It's the hope that kills you, Kojo. It's the hope that kills
Oh,
you.
Derek, what are you going for?
I think it's our best chance to go to Old Trafford and get a victory, and I'm going to go with Dave. I'll take a 1-0 victory tomorrow.
Okay, fair. Is that at Goodison Park or Old Trafford? I thought it was at Goodison.
Goodison Park.
Oh, is it Goodison?
Park.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're still going 1-0 then.
Okay, right. Oh god. No, I'm just gonna be optimistic. I'll be honest with you guys, right? I think Everton, and I think a lot of football fans at the moment are not taking into account that we're gonna just play on the counter. Like, if you play on the counter, I generally think we could win. But I will say it's gonna be tight. So I'm gonna go 2-1 to Manchester United. Calvert-Lewin's gonna score. He's in my fantasy team anyways. And I think Martial loves a goal against Everton. I don't know what it is, but he always scores against Everton and Chelsea. I think he must be the colour blue or something. So he just always bags against Everton. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that Martial and Rashford do the business up top.
Yeah.
But yeah, happy days. All right, okay. So just to wrap up the video, just want to say a massive thank you to our guests, Dave and Derek, to represent Everton. Obviously, Kojo and Kish also. I just want to say a massive thank you to everyone viewing. Hopefully, it's a good game for the neutrals. Obviously, Kish, you're a neutral. You're going to enjoy it either way. Make sure you drop a like.
We've got West Brom this weekend, so it's all right. Hopefully.
No comment on that one. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel as always. Dave, if you just want to let people know where they can find you, I know you do fantastic work on your social media. So if there's anything that you want to just plug.
Thank you very much, lads. Cheers. Thanks for inviting us on.
Absolute pleasure.
I can see Derek wanting to finish. He's got a gin topped up there. I can see that. So you want to finish it off, don't you?
The lockdown can't stop that, can it, Derek?
I've been away for 7 weeks, another week before I come home, so another gin will do me nice.
You're okay.
Thanks, lads. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Everyone's links will be down below. Check them out. And
cheers, guys.
Soon. Peace.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.